Hello, hello,
Hey,
and
sweetheart.
thank you everyone for joining us. Welcome, get in here. This is going to
Let's
be
go.
such a great live stream tonight because it's kind of the part 2 to what we were talking about on Tuesday, right?
It
You
looks
want to
like
give them a recap?
LinkedIn is already blowing up. We got Daniel Hall,
Oh,
Charlene Brown,
Daniel.
Charlene
Welcome.
Brown.
Hey, Charlene. Oh, that's what's up. Hello, hello, everyone. Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. That's where we are. But if you want the best experience, go to YouTube because then we can see your comments, we can pull them up, you can interact with other people over there too. But we're monitoring everything, so we're just having some technical difficulties with our platform, and soon, hopefully, they'll fix it. But that's where the best experience is. Just saying.
Oh my God.
Okay, so last week, you want to give them a recap?
Sure. So actually, probably the last three, or I don't know how many of these we've done. So let's do the last four. So we kind of started out with the wealth equation and kind of helping people understand the difference between what the wealth equation is compared to traditional investment equations and where your current retirement plan kind of fits. And then we went from there and transitioned into velocity banking because from there, once you understand how to pay yourself first, starting the day securely in a compounding vehicle, and then you leverage it to grow it even further, it's like, how do you get that money? Where does that money come from? Well, you have to identify your cash flow because once you identify your cash flow, then you look for vehicles to be able to put that money in. And then from there, we transition to then where do you put it? Where do you put that cash flow? Well, we kind of talked through a maximum premium indexing. And the whole purpose for Tuesday was to kind of walk through how maximum premium indexing actually produces up to three, if not in some cases, four times that of your traditional retirement account. And I went through kind of just comparing and contrasting traditional IRA, 401k, Roth IRA, 401k, 403b, TSP, your traditional retirement accounts, compared to what MPI can do and what it can do for you. Well, maximum premium indexing is actually a life insurance product. And so, what we wanted to do today is kind of dissect, deep dive, drill into life insurance products and what makes this different than what everyone else traditionally understands as being life insurance. 'Cause especially people that look like you and I, when you hear life insurance, most people go, I don't need life insurance. I care about being here. Like, I don't care
Right.
about my legacy or my kids, or who cares what happens when I die, right? So this
Or
is
it's like
not
YOLO, like
right,
I want to live in the now.
right.
Yeah,
This is not your grandmother's whole life policy, just so we're clear. So,
right. I do want to bring that up because this particular strategy. This is one of five. I just want to remind everyone this is one of five strategies that we personally used, and this is one of those strategies that really changed the game for us. Now, how those all fit together is another live stream, and we will get there. We're kind of just going through the basics and that framework of how we got to where we are today,
right.
and that is just right on the brink of early retirement. If we can do this, and we've helped so many other people do this too, you can. And so we just felt like it was so important to get out here and educate everyone because sharing is caring, right?
Absolutely. I have to address something real quick.
Okay.
Ken asked over on LinkedIn, "Am I really from Brooklyn, New York?" And I really love this question. I am absolutely not from Brooklyn, New York. This halfway twang slash accent is a Midwest kid. I am from the St. Louis area, but if you happen to jump across the Mississippi River over into Illinois, you'd run into the oldest black city in America, and the name of it is Brooklyn, Illinois, also doubled as Lovejoy, Illinois, and that's actually where I'm from. So, but yes, people confuse me being from Brooklyn from being from Brooklyn, New York, and I am not from Brooklyn, New York. So I like that.
But when you say from Brooklyn though, you gotta,
Absolutely, got to
of
get
course,
the
people are gonna assume that.
right, right, right.
Well, we got people from all over tuning in. So I think
That's
this
awesome.
is an exciting talking about income, talking about what is it that you actually need to be able to secure just even your welfare, right? For
Right.
the rest of your lifetime. And that's the important thing. All is well while we can trade our time for money right now. I think something that's kind of on my heart right now today. Yesterday, for those who have followed my journey, yesterday I had a vision therapy appointment and had gotten some information that was really disappointing for me to be able to process. What it reminded me of though is that we are not promised our health to be able to trade our time for money, even if we
Right.
think at this age that we should be able to. And fighting that, especially that programming that this was not part of the plan, right? This was not what I was expecting to have to do. If I could retire early because I had the means to be able to do so and then enjoy the rest of my life, that's fantastic. But sometimes we don't get the choice. We don't get to choose 65 or 60 or 55 or when what the number is that we're going to retire. Some of us will not get to choose.
Right.
That is a fact, folks. And so that happens to be part of our story, is that I didn't get to choose. And thank goodness we had some strategies in place that we could even aggressively get real serious, right? Real serious, real fast as things started to happen for me to understand what does that number look like and what will this look like if I have to stop working. And so I get to choose to do something different with this time than I probably would if I didn't have options. And I think that's the most important part is really understanding what are those figures? What does that look like? So I think this is a great time to jump in, even though this part isn't a game, right?
Right.
We're gonna make it fun to learn how to get yourself in the position to feel secure about these decisions, and it just it makes it a little bit better knowing that you have options. I think that's the part that I have to be so grateful for is that we know what those options are, and now you're gonna have them too. So
And let's peel that back just slightly, just because I know we are on a time crunch too. Just slightly, a little bit. I'd like to peel that back a little bit further, just from a transparency perspective. I've had some great careers in my life, right? To be specific, I worked for Ford Motor Company, Target Corporation, Amazon. I've done some great things for some great companies and had some great positions. And you would have thought that all of those great companies would have put us in a position where retirement is a no-brainer. Where
yeah.
retirement is, hey, because of the money that we've made over time and the careers that I've had, that we would be in a very good position to be able to retire when we want. Well, obviously at retirement age of 59 or older, but still we would have that ability to choose. And the truth is, regardless of how much money we've made or how great those retirement accounts are, at age, what was it, around 40, we realize that we are far from being able to achieve that goal that we had set. And so you're right. These tools that we've identified, even though we're starting at, I would consider a later age, it hasn't stopped us from being able to now put ourselves in a position to choose when we want to retire versus being told when we want to retire. So,
Yeah. And that's just kind of, I think, Ken, congratulations on 35 years, by the way. I saw your comment on the last stream. Even someone who has been in the same place for a long time, our grandparents, this was because of pensions, right?
right,
This was
right.
the trade-off. It was all you got to do is show
Work your
up,
35 years.
put your time in, and then you are the guarantee. And I think that's another sentiment is we had a lot of guarantees, right? We
Right,
had cars that were built differently. They were built to last. Things were built to last, including careers, right? And income was
right.
built to last. And we don't have those same type of options anymore, but we do have other options and other ways to create the same type of thing. And that's what's mind blowing is that a lot of people aren't talking about this. Now, Frontline did a documentary that will expose why people aren't talking about this. Okay. And if you haven't seen our content on that, definitely check that out. But for now, let's get into it and let's see what you guys know. So, we play along in the comments? Give us a yes in the comments if you'll play along, and we're going to play a game. Okay. You ready?
Let's do it.
All right.
Have I seen these questions?
Um, no, actually, I don't think you have.
Interesting. This should be fun for all of us then.
Okay. Oh, get my sound. Here we go. Okay, first question. How much is
I
No,
already know the
no,
answer.
no. It
I
started
already
off on the
know the
wrong
answer.
start. No, let's play a game. Let's go backwards.
5,662.
You guys get to choose what the options are, what the wrong answers are.
It's all
Okay.
good. What do I
All right.
win?
We're going to play a game. You know what? We do have prizes, but I haven't decided how people could win. If you guys live stream, I know Charlene, you live stream, Daniel, you've got live streaming all in your business. Let's see who else is in here that might live stream or on. If you know of some great ways to choose winners, we've already got the prizes. Okay, so maybe we'll just randomly choose one from today
I like
and be
that.
done with it. All right, let's start with the first question. Okay,
Oh, it's a different question. Nice.
the average American. Why is it
The
doing
average amount
this?
of income Americans earn in retirement.
There it is. Okay, it was cropped off for me.
Oh, let's get back over here. There we
No,
go.
something's going on here.
So what are we thinking? The average amount of income Americans earn in retirement. What do you think? Is it 25 to 35,000, 40,000 to 75,000, 75 to 100, or somewhere between 50 and 65? What does anyone think? I see an A. It looks like Daniel says A, 25 to 35,000. Man, isn't that disappointing? Like, even if that is the right answer, isn't that disappointing? Like, golly, who can live off 25 to $35,000 a year?
All
See, I
right,
see
we
an
got.
A.
All right, well, let's let's keep it going here. I don't see a number count for how many people, so I don't know if maybe it's lagging or something. Peekaboo can help with the comments. Yeah, can it do it live? Can it bring them all in from all the different sources? Because that's what we really, really need. Okay. All
Ken
right, we
saying
got.
C.
All right, we got some people
Got a
in. All
couple of
right.
answers. Yep.
All right, so let's see what it is. No.
47. That's a little bit better. It's still kind of weird. Let me see. Based on 4% of $1 million. That is correct. So the average amount of income Americans earn in retirement is about $47,000, and that is true. It's about 4% of $1 million, and I still have a conflict with that number. I think it's kind of high, but anyway,
Well,
I
the
think I know what they're saying here. Go ahead.
recommendation
Yep.
is that you need $1 million
Yep.
in order to retire,
Yep. So
right?
it's almost like Americans can,
Right.
right?
But
They're
even if
capable.
you achieve this, then you still only can do the 4%, right?
Right.
Which is still less than 50K a year. And
Absolutely.
so that's what the government, that's what people are recommending. That's what other people are okay with you having. Oh, Daniel says that's kind of high. All right, let's get into it.
I agree, Daniel.
Here we go. The
What percentage of
percentage.
Americans can actually achieve $1 million or more in retirement? I like this. What percentage of Americans can actually achieve $1 million in retirement?
Who's doing it? How many people are doing it? Let's hear it. YouTube, get in here. Get
What are we
in here
thinking, LinkedIn?
and play along. I think we've got a little bit of a delay.
Yep.
So we just kind of have to wait for them for the answers to come in.
Yep.
But here's why I think this is important. Even though it says you're supposed to have this amount of money in order to retire, one, how many people actually get to do that? And then two, do you really need that? You do if you're living off the 4% rule, right?
Right. That is
Hey,
correct.
Anthony. Thanks for
Anthony says
coming.
C.
All right.
Ken's got an A over there.
Okay. Let's see what it is.
Yep. So from a traditional strategy
It's like a trick
perspective,
question.
yeah, very much so. Because what percentage of Americans can actually achieve a million? Yeah, I agree. Everyone can, with exception. So I like the 99.9%. So I agree with that. There's a small portion that cannot. So what percentage can? 99%. But is that actual amount? Less than 10% of Americans actually retire with $1 million or more in retirement,
Yeah. Well,
which is pretty
using
scary.
because they're using these traditional
That's
strategies that
right.
were set up for a totally different time, by the way.
That is correct.
Yeah. So it just doesn't really serve us right now. Okay. On to the next. The average American has this much in retirement. How much is it, guys? To A, $250,000. Let's find out, how much do they actually have?
This is such an ugly question, man. The average American has this much in retirement. So they're not at retirement age yet, is what this is saying. They may be at retirement age. They may just be getting started. So the pool of people, they just based off this question alone, is much larger. So I bet this number is going to be ugly.
Okay, we ready?
I see a B, I see a C, I see a, yep, B. Oh my gosh. Yeah,
That's how much. So, you know what the next question is going to be then?
I
If
can
this is
only
how
imagine.
much the average American has in retirement, how much do they truly have as their retirement income? If that's the case, right?
Right. If I
So it
only
can't
have
be.
in total less than 150,000, how much income is that on an annual basis?
Right.
Not including Social Security. I
Not
agree with that.
including Social Security, just with the average. Now, this is average. Obviously, people have more, some people have less, a lot of people have none, right? And that's why we're here. All right.
Ted's in the building, and he gave me a big sad face of D. That is correct.
Dang. He's right.
141,000, whatever that number was, 142,000 divided by 12 is around $566,000. I mean, $5,662,000 per year. You divide that by 12, what is that? $500 a month? Less than $500 a month? Like,
Yeah.
who can live off this? And it kind of speaks to that, I almost said age old, but it's not really age old. It's that Curtis Ray phrase of everyone ends up poor.
Yeah.
And poor is a relative term, right? It's not that you end up on the street or homeless. It's that comparative. You look at what you used to make compared to what you can retire making. Everyone eventually ends up poor. They end up being that 70-year-old lady delivering pizzas and falling up folks' steps, right?
Yeah. That's right. And I think, just based off the last question, because I put in there that 99.9,
Right.
knowing that some people may not have access or qualify to be able to utilize some of these strategies that we do, right? But the majority of them, yes, they
Yes.
can. And that more people could be in a different position if they just had the information. And you always say all the time, you
You
don't
don't
know
know what you don't know.
what you don't know.
That's
And
correct.
so let's fix that. What I would love for you to do is
Yes.
uh, one, we can start with the same example, right, that we
Yes.
had going from last time. That way it's kind of a carry through.
Mhm.
And then give them those examples so they can see the the difference in what it is we're talking about. One of the strategies we use versus a traditional strategy where that everyone is
Let's
told
do
to
it.
use. Okay, sounds good. Let me find the thing. Hold on. Uh, I think we're going here. Yeah, is it the calculator?
That is correct.
Okay.
So let me set the stage a little bit. So this is the same example that we used on Tuesday, and in this example, the whole point was to show a maximum premium indexing approach to producing income. And I should be saying retirement income, but when I'm working with people, I don't. I don't talk about retirement income. I just talk about income because this doesn't matter your age. It doesn't matter if you're above 50, below 50. It doesn't matter if you're 25. This is about income. And it's about being able to access that income when you want it. So which that in turn means you can retire early, which in turn means you get to dictate what retirement looks like. So let's talk about income. And this example speaks to a 30-year-old putting away $500 a month and what that income looks like over time. And what we did Tuesday was, because this is a life insurance product designed to produce income, I wanted to kind of just lay out traditional retirement, IRAs, 401ks, 403bs, traditional versus Roth. You're looking at traditional retirement compared to something like this and what the differences are. Why is one better than the other? What I'd like to do today is go through the exact same example, but also now highlight, hey, we are talking about a life insurance product. Well, this isn't just your traditional whole life policy or variable life policy or index universal life policy. There's something special that happens here. But what I wanted to do is compare this to those traditional life insurance products. And so let's walk through the example. Let's see, am I centered well? Good. All right.
Yep,
So
you're good.
again, we've got a 30-year-old. Come here. Sorry, just a minute. We've got a 30-year-old putting away $500 a month. And that $500 a month is turning into about 147,000 in tax-free income for the rest of his life. But if you break these numbers down a little bit, over that 35 to 65 year period, over that 35-year period, he would have contributed 210,000. That 210,000 he's growing or making somewhere around, let's call it on average 7% on his 210,000 that he's contributing over that time. But something special happens. There's a certain amount of leverage added. We call it the relock feature. We call it the premium financing feature. We call it the participating loan. There's many different words associated with it, but the bottom line is there's a certain amount of leverage that's being added to this policy. So this 7% growth on the 210 plus 3% growth once you pay back the money that you borrowed, that 3% growth on this 1.8 million is what's producing 1.5 million in cash value. So what does cash value mean? That cash value means that's liquid cash available to this person to be able to use however they would like. If you were to do the exact same thing inside of a 401k, again, I call that comparable. Still a millionaire. But the difference between these two products is the income, meaning 47,000 based off the 4% rule, 47,000 off this 1.1 million compared to what is that math? Somewhere I'm going to call it 10%. It's probably something like 9.8% or something like that. But let's just call it 10%. 10% distribution off this 1.5 million equates to about 147,000 in income. Well, to flip this around the opposite way, that means your 1.5 million is making 13, 14, 15, 16%. If your 1.5 million is making 13% and you're taking a distribution of 10%, that means you're doing what? You're just simply living off the interest. So if you're living off the interest, that means you can take this 10% forever. And there's other pieces associated with this. That's just the income. But what happens when you pass? I did say this is a life insurance product. Well, when you pass, that 258,000 in life insurance that you originally bought ends up growing to a death benefit. And death benefit just means the life insurance plus the cash value not used. So it's this dollar amount and its growth plus this dollar amount and its growth equates to about 2.5 million. So ultimately, you're able to leave a legacy for your family of about 2.5 million based off you putting away 6% of the 10% of in this case this person's case 10% of their income. They make 60 grand a year, putting away $500 a month. That's $6,000 a year. 10% of their income, providing generational wealth and a legacy of about $2.5 million. And the way usually I like to end this with my clients is show me the one 401k that can do any of this.
Right. And what was the time frame? Remind them of the time frame.
35 years. So from age 30 to age 55, putting away $500 a month produces 147,000 in tax-free income for life. And yes, that's at age 65. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that. But what if it wasn't age 65? What
Right.
if it was
Yeah.
age
That's a great idea. That's a great question.
55? Right? And again, maybe you can't retire at age 55, but $500 a month by age 65 still produces $62,000 in tax-free income. If I walked up behind you on your 55th birthday, your double nickel birthday, and I gave you a $62,000 tax-free check. And again, I'm not saying you can retire off 62,000, but if I gave you a $62,000 tax-free check, I don't think you would be upset with me. Imagine what bills you could pay, what things you could do, what trips you could take, what investments you could invest in. And as long as you continue to contribute to your policy over time, that dollar amount still continues to grow to that same 147,000 by age 65. But there's no penalties, there's no restrictions, there's no taxes, there's no one stopping you from being able to touch that money when you want. And again, I think that's what makes this product super powerful.
Yeah, and I think that part about the penalties, I don't know how versed all of our viewers are on this particular subject in regards to if something were to happen to you, like it did to me, right? where you cannot function at the same level you were doing your job before, and something needs to change based off of health reasons. So let's say, for your example that you're giving right now, this was someone who had to go down to part time work.
Yep.
And for those who are entrepreneurs and it is you powering your business, and the moment that you cannot provide your services or you stop working, your business stops, this is especially important because that was where I was, right?
Yeah, and there's so much that's not being said here because let's say you open up a policy like this and it's owned by your business. Your business
Mm,
can do what's called a key man policy. And what that
okay.
means is your business opens up a policy like this on you. Your business is the one funding it at $500 a month. And then to your point, something happens to you down the road, to say around age 50, 55. Well, the business isn't in trouble because now the business can leverage all of this income to be able to keep the business afloat. So if you move things down to partial or part time, you still have income available to you to maybe hire an individual that can produce or fill the gap or fill the need that was kind of left due to that void. There's
Right.
just many options available to you. There's so many details that as we go through these lives we will get to, but we are just scratching the surface. I think the first message that I want you to receive is this is a life insurance product that is designed to produce retirement income, and this is not the life insurance product you might be thinking of.
I just want to mention this part though, because we were watching on Netflix the Get Smart with Money last night. And one of the things that he told this guy to do, right? There's like four people chosen. It was a reality show. Four finfluencers, with financial influencers, like on social media, YouTube, whatever. Four people came on the show, and then you had to like submit to be chosen by these four people. Each person chose somebody or family to work with. Okay, there. That's the summary. So there's this guy. He's a professional athlete who got injured and then got dropped.
Right.
Tease Taylor Tatum.
Yeah. It's not a very well known player. So yeah.
Boop. Tease. Okay, we're just gonna call him Tease.
Yeah.
And he was freaking out because he had this huge contract, all this money, thought he was gonna be good, set for life, like did it, right? Then all of a sudden he's pretty much broke. Now, this guy is trying to help people out there, financial literacy. Let me teach you about money, which sounds amazing, right? Like everybody just needs to learn. We all can learn new things all the time. But he tells him to put his money in the stock market, regardless of what he was telling him to buy. What's crazy to me is that people are flocking to these types of strategies, but they don't even have life insurance.
Right. Right. And that strategy that you reference is the biggest. It's not, to me. It's not the stock market part that's concerning. It's the risk part, because most people, when they say I
Right,
put my money in the stock market, there's an assumption there that, hey, there's some consistent growth over time that you're able to achieve, which is
right.
true. The issue is security. The issue is eliminating risk for me. So it's not, hey, just throw your money in the stock market. It's, hey, how can I participate in the market but not participate in the risk of the market?
Well, and so to your point about the penalties, what I was going to ask about the penalties is when you are, regardless of what your strategy is, there are
Mhm.
penalties all over the place
Very
because
true.
these particular strategies are not considering if something were to happen to you. It
Right.
is only depending on the market, and the only thing that the only part of the equation that you serve in that equation. You're the variable of putting money in. When you stop, then they don't really talk about what happens after that or if you need to pull it out. So this guy was like, I don't want to really put a bunch of my money in the stock market. I don't care if you're saying it's safe or not. Like, this is new for me. I'm kind of afraid because he knows that it's going to lose. So
Right.
now he's afraid. And the guy's like, no, it's sometimes you're up, sometimes you're down. Like, whatever his thing was, he was preaching over there. And he's like, but it's a long game, right? Like, you got to keep it in there forever. Well, if he's doing this because he's thinking long term, he's going to benefit, right? Which
Right.
a lot of people do. So I'm not saying this is not a thing. We're just talking about the risk and the penalties that aren't talked about. If anything were to happen to him, penalties. If he needed to leverage that money, penalties, fees, and on top of that, if he were to sell to get his money out to just be able to use it if something were to happen to him,
Capital gains,
taxes.
taxes. That's right. And I think that was the piece that was disheartening. Is the assumption is yes and here's what, to kind of put a bow on it, what we're talking about is simply just investing in index funds. So instead of using a traditional IRA, 401k, 403b, or something like this, MPI, some type of cash value life insurance product, it's you could do the same if you just simply invested in index funds. And it's true, you can get consistent growth over time, you just investing in index funds. But there's pieces to this puzzle that are just left on the table and are intentionally not talked about. Taxes being one of them, security being the other, penalties associated with addressing your funds, and then we don't talk about income. We're talking about net worth in this equation, but
Yeah,
what about the income? What does the income look like coming out of a vehicle like that? How much do
yeah.
you need inside of that bucket in order for you to be able to produce the income that's going to sustain your lifestyle? That's the piece that is intentionally left, and then you don't learn about it until you get close to that retirement age, and that's the
Yeah.
disappointing part.
And to Charlene's point, this info is wild. When you learn that this stuff has been around for a long time and just nobody's talking about it, it is mind blowing. Then you have to ask yourself, why aren't more people talking about it? Why aren't more people using it? And what's to whose benefit? Who's benefiting from not talking about these types of strategies? And why didn't we know about this sooner?
And that's my
Right?
favorite topic when I'm standing in front of a group. Usually, when I have a webinar that I'm putting on next week. When I'm standing in front of a group of people, um, that's usually one of the first questions I get is why don't people know about this? And what you have to ask yourself is who benefits from you not knowing, and that will answer the question as to why you don't know. Because there's a whole lot of people. There's banks. There's your employer. There's a whole lot of people that are benefiting from the fact that you don't know these things.
Right. Yeah. Well, I'll let everybody know if you want to see some numbers, if you want to see an example
Yep, yep.
on the board for you and you want to put in the comments, just go ahead and put in your age.
And to kind of set the stage as to what that would look like based off your age. Here, let me highlight it real quick. Based off your age and what you're considering of contributing, I can easily calculate what that would look like in income for you. And even if you don't know what you should contribute, what I usually base it off is some percentage of your income. And I always start with 10%. If you're my age, I'll be 50 in a month. Wow. Oh my God, in a month. I'll be 50 in a month. And based off my age, me putting away 10% of my income would not get me there. But if I'm 20, 25, 30, putting away 10% of my income would absolutely get me there over time. So if you're an older person, you want to kind of be a bit more realistic on if your goal is to be able to retire at a decent retirement age like 60, 58, 57, you have to be a bit more aggressive. If you're younger, you have the time, which means you can be it's a long game. You can put away that $200, $300 a month and you can eventually get there. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So, um, let's see here.
Jump
Oh,
in.
yep.
So here's what I wanted to do. I guess I'll wait for you to transition. Let's go.
Oop. My bad.
No, you're good.
All right. Hold on. Okay. There you go.
So what I wanted to do was just kind of highlight and kind of talk through a little bit. Make sure the mic is good. Talk through a little bit what it looks like using a life insurance product to be able to produce income. And here's the thing about life insurance products. Traditional life insurance products are designed for what? Life insurance. So if someone from Prime America is trying to sell you a whole life policy, they're selling you life insurance. If someone from Mass Mutual is trying to sell you an IUL, they're selling you life insurance. The key is to take a life insurance product that has to be properly structured to be able to produce income. So when I talk about maximum premium indexing, let me break down what that is. It's a max funded, option B as in boy, index universal life insurance policy with added leverage. It's a lot of words. And again, as we go through these live streams, I will kind of break down what I mean by that. My point to you, the piece that you want to remember is it has to be properly structured. And if you have a cash value life insurance policy, there's many things that you can do. And these are the kind of the three buckets. You can do infinite banking. You can do infinite banking with your eyes closed using the right vehicle, and that vehicle being a cash value life insurance policy. A lot of people talk about infinite banking. And infinite banking is where you use the leverage inside the policy to be able use the leverage inside the policy to be able to pay bills, buy investment properties, do many different things with those additional funds. And then the last piece is maximum premium indexing, and the thought process around that is this is where you produce your income. When I am talking about maximum premium indexing, I am focused solely on income, and if this is done properly, all of these other things can come along with it. But the focus is on income first. And I think that's the difference between me and most of the people who provide life insurance type products. I am focused on income first. I'm a retirement planner. I'm a fiduciary. I am focused on producing income. You will hear me talk very little about life insurance. As a matter of fact, I don't really care about the death benefit. I don't care about the life insurance part. My goal is to purchase the least amount of life insurance legally possible.
Well,
That's
it's
what max
leverage.
funded means. Right. So you purchase the least amount of life insurance legally possible. You make sure the death benefit is consistently increasing. You're using an IUL because of its 0% floor, and then you add leverage to exponentially grow that thing. It's pretty powerful. So, to kind of get into the specifics, anyone, and what I'm going to do is spend most of my time comparing MPI to a whole life policy. And the reason I'm going to do that is if there's anyone that you are talking to, or if you mention the word IUL or infinite banking on your phone, you're going to get served all of these ads and all of these other features associated with life insurance and life insurance based products to produce income. And the key is I'm going to compare MPI to what most people traditionally understand as infinite banking or whole life policies. There is a distinct difference. Whole life can be pretty good, but it does have to be properly structured. And what that means is with a properly structured whole life policy, you have money working for you in two places. You have money working for you inside the policy. This is that guaranteed 4% that a lot of people who provide life insurance, whole life policies talk about. But in addition, you get to take that 4%, take that leverage from the policy, and then use it to pay bills, use it to do real estate, use it to build arbitrage. And the whole expectation around that is as you replace the bank, as you become your own bank, you take that interest rate that you were paying to the bank and you pay it right back to your policy. So the thought process is the way you make this whole is you're making 4% inside of your policy. You take that leverage, you pay bills or you do investments, and then you take that difference and you move it back into the policy, which is awesome. But what I'm referencing is a little bit different. This right here is your money working in two places. What MPI is your money working in three, meaning not only are you making more inside of your policy, so instead of 4%, it's more like 7 to 10%. You take that 7 to 10% and then you add leverage to it. And I can't show both. And then you add leverage to it of around 2 to 4%, the 7% growth on your money plus 2 to 4% growth on the money that you're leveraging. And then you take that and then you go pay bills and then you do real estate and then you recapture that interest. Then you have a choice. You can choose to pay it back or you cannot. And the reason you can choose to pay it back is mainly because the reason people who do infinite banking tell you that you have to take the money that you make and put it back in the policy is usually because it's a poorly designed policy. I mean, to give you some simple math, if you're growing 4% guaranteed inside of a whole life policy and it costs you 5% to borrow the money in the whole life policy, it is costing you more to borrow the money than the money that you're making inside the policy. So you're already at a deficit. But if you take that borrowed money at 5%, go pay a bill or go pay a credit card bill that's 16%. The 5% it cost you, the 16% that you paid off, that a difference of 11%, you just recaptured. Well, if you take that 11% and put it back into the policy, you've now compensated for the cost of borrowing. So that's the reason from an infinite banking perspective, that's the expectation. But if a product is properly designed, the money you're making inside the policy is positive. The cost to borrow doesn't put you in a negative situation. So you're still making money inside the policy. And then when you take that leverage to go pay that bill, that's even more money on top of all of that. So therefore you get to choose. Do you want to pay it all back or not? And again, I'll make this argument all day long.
But
And
I want to
go ahead.
interject for just a second
Yes, ma'am.
because I think the difference in the processes that we currently use that are more common, like For instance, if you buy a house, you're taking out a loan, right?
Hmm.
From the bank that says, I will pay you back for this house. Like
That's
I
right.
owe you, right? Like I got you, I'll pay it back. And the bank is going, okay, what are those factors that would say, yes, this person could pay us back? What are those factors? And your job, like how much money you've made, how
Credit
long
score,
you've made the
DTI.
money. Yep, all of these qualifying
Hmm.
factors that
That's right.
you're leveraging all of this behavior of yours and history to be able to, give them the confidence that you're going to actually pay it back.
Right.
The difference here is that you're using a completely different tool because you're guaranteed you're going to die. Everybody is going at
It's
some
morbid, but
point.
it's true.
So the life insurance company, you're taking out a loan against your life insurance, they know they're going to get paid because they know that you have
Eventually.
a payout, right?
Right.
They know you already have the funds are already there. Now you could not take your life insurance payout though and go buy a house in the same way, apples to apples, the traditional life insurance, traditional mortgage, you would not be able to use this as collateral saying, hey, if something were to happen to me, here's part of my package for my down payment is my life insurance payout. You couldn't do that.
Right.
It's not the same. However, you can with this particular strategy, and I hope everybody hears what I'm saying right now. You can leverage this though to
That's
buy
right.
a house.
That's right. That's right. So, um, the only other thing I wanted to cover here is the differences between the two. The differences between a whole life policy, properly designed, properly structured, compared to an MPI plan, properly structured and properly designed. Meaning, if we're talking apples to apples, one is focused on life insurance, the other is focused on income. One is focused on paying bills outside of your policy and recapturing that interest and growing that policy over time. The other is focused on producing income. Again, two different things. I'm not focused on life insurance. I'm focused on income. It is about income. So how do you do it? Well, again, it's about structure. We've got an MPI plan that allows permanent life insurance, just like a whole life policy. But most people who do infinite banking have multiple policies. Why? Because of the design, because the design is poor. If the design was better, you would only need one. But you have to add paid up additions riders and different things to be able to give your policy the power it needs to be able to recapture debt. And
Well,
then the
how
biggest
how would
piece is,
you
go ahead.
how would you know that? Like what you just said, paid up additions policies. How would you even know that, or how would you know if your policy? And I'm genuinely asking,
Yep.
because this is your lane, not
Yep.
mine. So how would you know if it's properly structured or not?
Yeah. There, you really just have to focus on this. It's really who you got it from. I focus heavily on education. I like to pull up my policy and show people how to read an illustration. It's easy to tell if an illustration is properly structured. And it starts here. When do you break even? The first question that you ask yourself, if you have any type of cash value life insurance policy, the first question you ask is, when do I break even? And here's what I mean. If I put $1 in the policy, when do I have $1 working for me? And so, when you put in that dollar, in order for that full dollar to be working for you, there has to be zero fees. So if I put $1 in this year and there's $1 working for me this year, that means there are no fees. I have 100% of my money working for me.
And
Well, there's
this
not a
is
policy on this earth built that way. Go ahead.
there is a this is whole life though is
This is
term
all.
different,
This is all cash value life insurance policies, meaning
but
the
not term.
right term isn't necessarily a cash value because you can't leverage it. Any
Right.
policy that you can leverage, this is how you read it. The first question you ask is, when is all of my money working for me? So if I put in $1 in one year, do I have $1 working for me? No, it's probably more like 75 cents. Okay, you put in another dollar the second year, which means you've put a total of $2 in. Well, do you have $2 working for you? No, it's probably more like $1.90 inside of a properly structured policy. By year three, though, you've put in $3 in 3 years. You should have $3 or more working for you by year three, 4, or 5. That is a properly structured policy. Most, and I've probably looked at 300 policies over my career so far, and I would say 98% of them are structured improperly, which means, when is your money working for you? When is all of your money working for you? In those poorly designed policy somewhere around years 10, 11, or 12. So
Wow.
think about it. If you put in $1 a year for 12 years, you don't break even until 12 years. So put that on a scale.
Yeah.
If that's $500 a month, $6,000 a year, 6,000 times 12, how much is that? If it's $50,000 a year, $50,000 times 12, how much is that? A poorly
Mm.
designed policy breaks even around years 11, 12, 10, 11, or 12. And here's the other part. When you're doing infinite banking and you're leveraging against yourself, you're making that time frame longer, which is again why
Right.
they tell you want to put your money back in the policy. You want to recapture everything and put it back in the policy so you at least stay at that 10-year, 11-year mark. Inside of a policy like MPI, that break even point is year 3, 4, or 5. In most cases, it's year 3 because of the leverage.
Yeah, it's just
It's
different
just
things,
different. Absolutely.
different type of
Just different.
vehicles, right?
Yep. And I guess the only other thing I'd mention here is the growth potential and the distribution potential are the major pieces that are difference between this product and your traditional whole life type policies. And that is, it's based off this little thing called compound cycles. And here's what I mean. And again, these are terms that I'm saying that I haven't given a lot of context to. But if you spend any time on my YouTube channel, and if you just spend some time on this live, you will learn these compound cycles. And what I mean by that, and I guess I can make this a little bit bigger. What I mean by that is, how long does it take for your money to double? Well, inside of a properly structured MPI plan, that we've learned that compound cycle is somewhere around years 6 or 7. Meaning, if I put in, how much is this? I put in $50,000. My 50,000 turns into 100,000 somewhere around year 7. Inside of a whole life policy, you put in that same 50,000. That 50,000 turns into 100,000 somewhere around year 11, 12, 13, or 14. And that's the sad part. So not only when do you break even, when does your money double for you? What are those compound cycles? And if you look at those compound cycles over time, that's the reason why this number is so drastically different. 12.8 million compared to 800,000. Again, a properly structured whole life policy, $800,000, and your income is now based off that 800,000. Which one is better? Income based off 12.8 million or income based off 800,000? Right?
Yeah. Well, and the other piece to this, even though you're comparing whole life versus MPI right now, the other part of this equation is what most people have, which is some sort of 401k from even if it's a previous employer,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And that does not have the life insurance benefit or
Component.
the
Right.
death bet. Yeah, so there's that part too. Any life insurance is better than no life insurance, so let's just get that out the way. But the math ain't mathin' with some of these other factors when people are saying this is leverage, knowing that something else like this MPI is out here and you can
Right.
use this instead. So that's just the part where I think it's imperative people get in here and learn about it so that they can leverage it and use it. And because of compound cycles, what you're saying is you can't go backwards in time. So
Right.
you got to be able to leverage time too.
So with that said, we can jump back over to the calculator because to your point, as it relates to the comparison of this product to traditional retirement accounts and it not having that life insurance component, let me show it to you.
Okay, Ted also has a question, so I wanted
Yeah, I think
to
he's
put
got some
that.
numbers we're going to throw in, right?
Well, yeah, is that what
Yep. Oh, I think what he's saying 50, 30, 20. So there's some people call it the 80-20 rule. 80% goes towards expenses. I think what he's saying is 50% goes towards expenses, that 30% maybe goes towards debt, and then the remaining 20 goes towards putting it away to be able to produce an income. And so if he's 34 years old, and I think I saw that he makes about 37,000 a year. Is that
I
correct?
think he said at 34 years, and I think he meant 34K a year.
Okay. So 20% of 34K, 2 times 3 is 6. So roughly about $6,000 a year. It kind of already fits. I guess
You
if
want
you
to show it?
switch over to the calculator, this kind of already fits what we've been talking about, even though he's 34. What we're basically saying here is, and here I'll put the numbers in, at 34 years of age, and again, allowing this to compound the same period of time, that $500 is still your mark, meaning roughly about You said 20% of your income, roughly about 20% of your income, that $500 is still your mark. If you were in a position to put away 20% of your income over time, we're still talking about a six-figure income. And not only are we talking about a six-figure income, let me do that. Not only are we talking about a six-figure income, you're a millionaire. You're a millionaire in what is that, 34 to 65, that's 31 years. You're a millionaire. But if I'm you, and no disrespect to you, you're 34 years old. Very rarely do I talk to 34-year-olds about waiting till 65 to touch their money. So my assumption is you don't want to wait till you're 65 years old before you can access your funds. So what does this look like if you wanted to touch your money earlier than that? Well, you have that flexibility as well. And so what I'll do is I'll drop this number down to more like let's call it 55. And again, I am not saying you can retire off putting away or off a $41,000 income. That is not what I'm suggesting here. What I'm suggesting is on your 55th birthday, if you had $41,000 available to you, what could you do with that money? And let's do some simple math. If you had $41,000 and you put it in your checking account, and then you turned right around and took 5,000 times 12, which is 6,000. So you put 41,000 in your checking account and you turn right around and continue contributing to this machine. Well, if you continue contributing to this machine, that means you just funded this policy another year. So it went from age 55 to now 56. Well, notice at age 56, the amount just went up. And so if you continue contributing over time, you're still able to achieve the income that you wanted and have access to all of the income when you want it. So what that ultimately means is, why would you ever stop contributing to a vehicle that's producing income for you? So at 65, the assumption is you're going to stop. But what if you never stop? What if you continue contributing over time? What that means is there's now more money available to you. So what does this look like at, let's say, age 68? Went from 104,000 to 133,000. What does this look like at, let's say, age 72? Oh, sorry.
And just clarify, when you say why would you ever stop contributing, that doesn't mean that you're not retiring. It just
Right.
means that
You're
you've found a
continuing
different
to
way.
contribute to the vehicle that's producing income. So I think the example that I traditionally use is if you had a machine that printed money for you in your garage, and all you had to do was put in $1 in that machine, and that machine would spit out $20. You put in $1, it spits out 20. Would you ever stop that machine from running? Like, wouldn't you always, I don't care where you get the dollar from, be focused on putting that dollar in that machine so it could produce that 20? This is no different. Why would you ever turn this machine off? Now, at some point, you will hit a brick wall, which means you can't get any more money into the machine. But why would you ever turn it off? Because all it's doing, it becomes this machine that just prints money for you. And it's printing tax-free money. I think that's the piece that I always forget to mention. But this dollar amount is tax-free. And this dollar amount is based off your total projected cash value. So it's a percentage of, if you look at the correlation between these two numbers, again, this is approximately 10%. This is saying you can take 10% of this total amount and you can take that 10% for the rest of your life. And again, if you were to compare this to a 401k as we were talking, that 401k is based off 4%. Which one is better, 180,000 or 60? And did I mention that this is taxable? So it's $60,000, not tax free. It's $60,000 that you will also be paying taxes on.
Why don't more people talk about this part? This is so
Who
sad. And
benefits?
here's the thing though. This is not, maybe this isn't you or me in this moment, and how um we would be faced with this decision or this reality. But I think this is a lot of people's parents right now who have who are right in the middle of this, realizing that by the time taxes come out, with inflation, their dollar that they put in during their time is now only worth 60 cents,
Again,
right?
transparency. This is my mom,
Yeah. And
right?
so How is it enough when this was what was promised her? She did everything right.
Right.
Everything right.
Did everything she was supposed to do, put in the right vehicle. She contributed up to the match. She got the match. She got the tenure. She stayed in the job. She did everything that she was supposed to do. Only to learn at this age, at this stage, the max she can take as income is 4% of her total. Now, home is paid off, bills are less, no more
Wait,
kids. Okay, so she downsized on her own, even though that's what the expectation is. She did it on her own, so she's fine. But still, who can live off 4% of their nest egg?
and you quit your job, you also now have to figure out healthcare.
Healthcare. Oh my God, that's a whole nother animal. And again, that's a part of the piece that pisses me off around this. You're making less, you're able to take less as income, and you have to also pay for your own healthcare.
Oh, wait, but don't you get Medicare?
And then there's more.
And then you have to have supplemental Medicare on top of your Medicare. And then you have option B and
Right.
C,
Right.
Medicare, because, and then none of that includes dental. So then vision, there's so many things that aren't covered. And it's just crazy to think about. And I think the phrase that I heard the other night was so great. It said, hold on one second. It said, the whole point about fixing the problem with money is so that you don't have to think about money.
Right.
That's
Right.
the whole point. And if you have worked your behind off for years, decades in a career, and you still have to be thinking about money and worrying about where it came from, and you can at least solve that particular problem, even if it's just enough, right? It's not changing your completely changing your lifestyle because it wasn't enough to make everything enough, right?
Right.
To make it fit.
Right.
It's that you don't have to think about it anymore because you have more than enough and it's possible. And that's the thing that kind of is so frustrating about this is that these strategies are possible for anyone to leverage, but we're not even told about them.
Right. I would like to just make sure I got like some feedback from you, Ted. As I mentioned, based off your age, man, you are in a position to be able to write your own retirement. And again, I love the fact that you already focused on putting 20%. Like I didn't even bring that up. You did. If you're putting away 20%, the key is the vehicle that you're putting it in. And you're placing yourself in a position to be able to do some pretty special or remarkable things. One of the things that we didn't really talk about is that death benefit. Not only that, if something were to happen to you, you're also creating legacy. You're also putting your family in a position to be taken care of forever.
Yeah.
It's pretty powerful.
Yeah, good job, Ted. But let us know if that answers your question or if you have any other figures. If anybody else has numbers that they want to be ran, can you check the phone real quick and see if there was somebody coming in? I know we're having an issue with my version of the app syncing with your version of the
Yep.
app.
Nothing from a LinkedIn perspective and nothing on my Facebook. I do have, so just before us getting on this live, I had a client who's around 45 and he makes about 100, maybe 110, $107,000 a year. And he got on the phone or got on the Zoom with me, and his concern was, "Hey, I'm starting late." And I love this conversation around starting late because he's starting earlier than I started. So he's definitely not starting late, but he does have to be specific. I go back to the word compound or the words compound cycles. The number of compound cycles he and I have are different than the compound cycles that Ted has. Ted has about two, if not three more compound cycles than I do, which means he can start with less, but he gives his money the right amount of time, he's still a millionaire.
Way to
Whereas
go, Ted.
for my client and myself, we don't have as many compound cycles, so we have to be a bit more aggressive. So I'd like to share with you what he determined he needed to do.
Okay.
If you slide over to the calculator.
All right, let's see it.
So again, he's 45 years old. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that. He's 45 years old. And again, from his perspective, his concern is that he's starting late. And we built this out to age 65. So his assumption was he was going to end up having to work till 72. And I don't know a lot. I don't know how anyone on this live might feel, but a lot of the people that I talk to around my age or older, we all have that number 72 stuck in our head. We are all at this assumption. We've all been conditioned to believe that 65 is not possible, 68 is not possible. We'll probably be ending up working till we're 70. And he was of the same thought process. He makes a six-figure income. He does have a mortgage, he does have bills like all of us do, but he felt pretty comfortable with being able to take a portion of his savings to jumpstart his policy. Because one thing that you guys haven't seen is what happens when you dump a lump sum into this thing. So he's got an investment property that he's in the midst of selling. That investment property, I think it was a home that was worth around 215,000 or something like that, which he's selling for about 415. And his question was, hey, if I take $100,000 to jumpstart my policy, what could that do? So let me show you. Here, let me get rid of this 500. So again, taking $100,000 to jump to start his policy. And I'm not saying we are all capable of doing this. This is specific to this client. Him taking $100,000 one time by age 65, that one time lump sum has the ability to produce around 67,000 tax free for life. $100,000 one time. And just so you understand how what this calculator assumes that 50,000 is actually split across 24 months. So it's actually 50,000 in year one, 50,000 in year two. One time produces about 67,000 in tax-free income by age 65.
All right,
And mind you,
I'm
go
gonna
ahead.
play devil's advocate.
Yes, sir.
Who's just got
Fair.
$50,000 laying around? So where would it come from for an example like this? Where did the majority of these lump sums come from your clients?
Absolutely. Backstory on this client specifically, he knew his retirement wasn't going to get him there, so he jumped into real estate. So he's a real estate investor. So he has rental properties. And this lump sum is actually coming specifically from a real estate, a property that he sold. And again, he bought it for 215. I think he sold it for 415. So he's making about 200,000 in profit, and he wants to use half of that to jumpstart his retirement. So that's where this specific client is getting his from. But majority is a liquidated asset. So maybe they are in Robinhood or Bitcoin or have a rental property. It's some liquidated asset. Some of my clients are actually coming from savings. I've got a few, and it scares me when I run across clients like this who have their savings account has all of their life savings sitting in it. So they've got 50, 60, 100, 200, $300,000 sitting in a savings account making about 0.01% or whatever. That's
Under a
stupid.
mattress.
Right, right.
Yeah.
They may as well have it in the shoebox in the closet. But that's one. And then the other is, and this is somewhat unique, a lot of people use equity in their home. I have clients who were wanting to take their 30-year mortgage and move it to 15. And what I educated them on is if you keep your 30-year mortgage, but use the down payment you were going to use for that 15-year mortgage and that difference between the mortgage payment that you were originally going to give to the bank, you give that to yourself and you dump it into a vehicle like this. That's one. And then the other is, and as you know it, what we do, converting that mortgage into a vehicle that allows you to use equity to be able to do whatever it is you want. So those are mainly the vehicles that I see most of my clients being able to get lump sums like this.
And then what about those who are watching what's happening in the money market right now and deciding that I don't want to play in this casino anymore. I want out.
Yep. If we're talking traditional retirement accounts, you're kind of stuck. And there's no way around that other than it being factual. Now, there are some things that you could do to be able to access some of your funds in the form of a self-directed retirement account. But for the most part, if the market that you're locked into is your traditional retirement account, you are kind of stuck. There are other options that I have for you, annuities. There's some other things that we can talk about. But as far as being able to fund an MPI plan, that would be a challenge. But for those of you who are, go ahead.
No, what?
But for
I'll
those
pause
of
right
you
after.
who are investing outside of your traditional retirement account that have your money stuck in the stock market and aren't happy with the performance, that's a no-brainer. The money that you're contributing into a product like this is after tax dollars, which is why you're growing tax-free dollars. So it's similar to a Roth account. So if you have a brokerage account out there in mutual funds, or you're doing, another client I had earlier today was doing options, trading options. He does pretty well at it, and he wanted to use a lump sum out of the money that he's making trading options to be able to jumpstart his MPI plan. So there's I've got many clients out there doing some pretty special things, but there's many different ways of going about it.
Okay, after you show people the power of this
Mm-hmm.
machine, this is the machine. This is the
Yes.
machine that your money makes its own money, and the money that that money makes its own money, and it just keeps growing and compounding exponentially.
Yes.
That's what we're talking about right now. However, there's going to be people who hear what you just said and think to themselves, well, I have money sitting in an old 401k from some job that I had before. Now I'm on to something completely different. And how I can't leverage that now. I'm just doomed to have it just drop with the market or do whatever it's going to do. And then I have to pay taxes on it later. What is there anything I can do with that? And I think that's a good segue for next week.
I
We
like it.
could start there in how to fund different ways of being creative. Because I'm telling you guys, we didn't know what we didn't know
Mm-hmm.
and how many options there really are out there to be able to not only just fund things but creatively structure your process and your strategy that fits you and your needs. I think we've just been all limited to who wants to share this type of information, but it's been out there forever, and it's why people are paying this much in taxes and other people are paying this much, and it seems unfair, but the unfair advantage that they have is information. That's
Right.
it.
And we call it self-directed for a reason.
Yeah.
The objective is to take control. You may have vehicles out there that you aren't sure as to how to leverage or how to use or what you can or can't do with. Again, it's called self-directed for a reason. If you've got a previous employer's plan out there, there are things that you can do to be able to take control of those funds, and you would be able to access them now before you hit retirement age, and penalty free, and in most cases tax free as well. Now, it's not the full complement, but there is an opportunity to be able to use it, and you can use that as leverage to be able to jumpstart a policy like this. So there are different vehicles that you could use. For my real estate investors, there's many levers that can be pulled, but I go back to it's about control, understanding what you have, understanding the cash flow you have in front of you, and what are those vehicles that you can put in it. And you're not subject to what your financial advisor told you. You're not subject to what your employer said you can or can't do. You're not subject to this piss poor cash value life insurance product that you have your money in that's growing little to no cash value. It's just eating away at your premium, and therefore you have no ability to leverage. Like, you do have other levers to pull. And to your point, I'd be happy to kind of step through what how you can leverage some of your previous employer's plans to be able to do other things. I'd be happy to do that.
Yeah, I think that's a great topic for next week. So join us for sure next week and we'll go over that. What else did you have left for the example here
And that's
to
it.
show?
If you want to throw it back to the calculator real quick, we can button this up. As I mentioned, I've got this 45-year-old client who put in $100,000 lump sum, and because he put in such a large lump sum, his thought process was, "Hey, I make six figures. What would it look like if I maintain that 10%? 10% of 100,000 is $10,000. $10,000 divided by 12 is $833 a month. So what does it look like if he was to put away $833, 10% of his income over that period of time?" Again, from his perspective, he was not going to be able to retire till age 72. And when I asked him what was his goal retirement amount, his goal retirement amount was just six figures. He's not asking to be a millionaire. He's not asking to live beyond his means. He would just like to be able to maintain his means. So his goal was six-figure income. Well, putting away 10% of his income and taking advantage of that investment opportunity and paying off or selling the selling his property for that was worth 215 for 415, taking half of that dollar amount and putting and dumping it into his MPI plan, puts him right at his goal, 127,000 in tax-free income for the rest of his life. And notice, he's a millionaire. And not only is he a millionaire, if something were to happen to him, he's got a death benefit payout, again, around that same time frame, of about $3.3 million is what he would be passing on if something were to happen to him. Like, where else can you do that? Please show me the 401k that can do any of this. And notice, if he was to just turn around and do the exact same thing inside of a 401k, what does that do? He's still a millionaire, but look at the difference in income.
And
Which one is better?
taxes.
Right. And oh, and I love that. And by the way, he's going to have to pay taxes on this dollar amount. It's kind of a no-brainer.
Why doesn't everybody know about this?
Who benefits?
Okay, Ted has a question. It's a perfect question,
Let's go,
perfect
Ted.
segue. He's like, coming up next week, well, where can I get an MPI plan? And for sure, everyone stay tuned because this is what we're just going to talk about until, people, until they cancel us. I don't know what we should do here, but I think twice a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays, that's when we'll be here. If you want to learn more before then, just go here. That's where you go. Selfdirected.info. There's a lot of information on there. Not only are there free resources, you can get started with a video series to teach you more about it. We have case studies on there, tons of them, on how different uses, including if you want to put one on your grandchild and get them started with one, or
Right.
your children, or however you want to structure this, it can be structured in different ways. So we have case studies there, and then we also have 2 free books that you also can have access to. But this is where you would go and just to start learning more. You can also jump on a call with Donnell, and then he can build you out and show you what this could look for you, and how to structure that properly for
And I love her to
your
death
needs.
because she knows I don't just jump on calls with people. You want to learn more, my goal is to make sure you're educated. When you jump on a call with me, it is less about, man, what is MPI? Man, how does this thing work? Those are questions that we can answer well before you and I ever touch base. When you sit down with me, it's really about your goals. This is my goal. How do I get there? Let's structure you something. Let's build you the proper strategy to help you hit your goal. I like to make sure you're educated before you get there. So she is absolutely right. Go to selfdirected.info and let's learn. Let's first start with, do you really understand what this product is and what this product isn't? This is not your mom and pop's life insurance policy. This is not a traditional retirement plan. This is not sexy. This takes time. This takes commitment. This takes, hey, I'm consistent over time. And over time, when compound interest starts kicking in, when 2 becomes 4 and 4 becomes 8 and 8 becomes 16, some special things start to happen. And once you understand that, then we jump on a call and it's a no-brainer. You're not asking me what's MPI. You're asking me how can I get as much money as possible into this product so that I could achieve the income and achieve the retirement that I want. My calendar stays pretty full, but I really do focus on making sure that you're educated. I really don't want to sit down and talk about what is this. You should know that well before we meet, and selfdirected.info can absolutely get you there.
And the point of becoming self directed is
Mm-hmm.
to feel confident in making educated decisions and understanding at least the strategies that we've used and how to be able to implement them and make moves of your own and feel so good and empowered to be able to do those things. That's a game changer, significant difference in getting just advice or being advised.
Absolutely.
So I feel like when you can make decisions from that place, you are changing other aspects of your life too. And that's the whole point here is I think it feels really good to not just be advising people on what to do, but educating them on what it is, why it was created in the first place,
Right.
what happens when you leverage it, and then how to fully maximize the potential out of this. Those are the things that blew my mind in watching and seeing how you were able to leverage a lot of these strategies and then fit them together so it's like a smorgasbord, like a choose your own adventure, but we got to do it for how it fits us, whereas other people wouldn't even be thinking to put that kind of information out. Like, what if your wife gets sick, starts losing her vision, and she's no longer bringing in income, and your healthcare costs just went up, and right? All of these things are coming at you at the same time. And what do? Just suddenly, just this is now your new normal. what do you do? And if you're prepared for things like that, making those decisions and navigating through changes in life are so much easier, even though it's not easy to go through. It makes it that much less stressful, knowing that you have solutions, knowing that a you have your own back. You're not hoping that somebody has your back. You're not hoping that something's going to come through for you.
Right.
This is this is completely different, right? This feels different.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I'm
All right,
I'm,
let's
I'm
take us out,
grateful.
sweetheart.
All right, I'm grateful that we get to be here, and I am so grateful for everyone who tuned in. If you have questions, we same thing. Selfdirected.info. That's where you can get them. Or if you're watching the replay, or you come back to rewatch some of these parts, you can also just put your comments in the questions, and we will be sure to make sure. We'll make sure that they get answered. So
Absolutely. And my wife does an awesome job at making sure I address questions and comments that are being asked at a later date. So I may not see it, but they will get addressed because she will make sure I address it. So I do appreciate that as well.
that's right. Okay, so we need like an official sign off. I keep thinking like we need something really, really fun or cool to say at the end of our live stream. Maybe you guys could help us out. We need like a thing to say.
I'm so
Anyhow,
glad we had this time together.
we're just going to say thank you so much. We hope that you learned something today and that we hope that we were able to provide value. If we did, please give us a thumbs up on the video wherever you're watching it. Share it out with someone else who can use this information. And come back on Tuesday because we're going to talk about some of the other creative ways that you might be able to utilize this particular strategy and get started right away. So
Absolutely.
I'm Angelique.
And I'm Donnell.
Until next time.
Get self directed.
You've been wanting that song forever. All right, hold on, guys. Hey, before you go, we want to remind you that becoming fully self-directed means gaining complete control over your wealth, time, and freedom. It's not just an idea. It's a framework, a mindset, and the power to make informed decisions to secure your future. Being here means you're taking those steps, and we want to thank you for allowing us to guide you. We believe that we grow farther and faster when we grow together. So tune in next time and tell a friend to tell a friend. We've helped thousands of people just like you start their journey to financial freedom. And if they can do it, you can too. And if you're ready to learn more, we got you. Get a head start by grabbing these 2 free books. But how do they get them, Donnell?
Head over to my website where you'll have access to a few things. A ton of free resources, case studies, and over 100 5-star reviews from people just like you. And in 15 minutes, we can explore what's possible for you. So don't wait.
Invest in what you want, when you want.
But first, let us help you get
Get self-directed.